Happy New Year, Movement Church. It is amazing that we are at an end of another year together. I come here every year and film these online only sermons at the Cressman's house, and I love it. I just love the vibe in here. I love the fireplace. Maybe you're watching this by your fireplace, drinking something warm, I hope. Although it's been a really warm December, hasn't it? Anyway, I hope you had an awesome Christmas. I hope you enjoyed time with your family. I sure did. We had just a great Christmas together. And it's exciting, again, to be thinking about another year together as the Movement Church. We asked the question throughout this year, really towards the end, is this the end? Right? That was the question we asked. And I can tell you for sure, the end is here. We have reached the end of another year. And every time I get to the end of a year, I start thinking about time, our greatest commodity. I start thinking about how many years do we have left? How many more years of impact? How many more years of memories? How many more years of ministry and opportunity to experience God's kingdom here on earth before we're with Him in heaven? Ephesians chapter 5 says this. It says, "Pay careful attention then to how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time because the days are evil." And man, I'm sure you've had a year like I have where you've just watched this world go crazy. But in the meantime, I've had just one of those years where it just made some really fun memories. I don't know about you, but at the end of a year, I find myself looking through my phone, looking through my photo reel to remember all of the things that I experienced in a year. This has been a really, really good year, 2025. I got to go to a couple of Nuggets games, sitting really, really close. One of them was really special. I went with Jonathan Madrid and Alan Briggs, who are two really lifelong friends, and brought Justice with us as well. And that was just a great memory. But by the way, I got to go to another game, and I brought with us a local celebrity from our bunch. The Nuggets put out this press picture of Jamal Murray giving high fives to the fans. And if you look right behind that fan, there he is, our local legend, Jeff Rutter, not paying attention to Jamal Murray at all. We had some good memories. I got to go in January to hang out with Justice in Phoenix and actually go to class with him at GCU and try to look young and cool. I don't think it worked. But I had a great time with him, and I got to tell you the story. So that night, after having hung out with him all day, Justice was responsible for giving the announcements. He was the host for his college ministry. Now, I had told him earlier in the day about this game that Alan Briggs and I used to play when we were on staff together at another church. Alan and I didn't get a lot of opportunities to speak. We didn't get a lot of opportunities to preach back in those days. He was a youth pastor, I was a worship pastor. And so we had this little game that we would play where right before either of us would go up onto the platform, we would come up and give the guy a word that they had to use in their sermon. Usually it was kind of some strange, crazy word. And so I was telling Justice about that during the day at GCU. And right before he went up to do the announcements, I looked at him and I said, "So, do you want to play the game?" And he said, "Yes, absolutely." And so I said to him this word. I said, "Your word is exasperated." Exasperated. Now, I've known my son his whole life, and I know that little boy's face. And what his face communicated to me when I said the word exasperated was, number one, I don't know what that word means. And number two, I'm going to do it anyway. And so I was just so excited to see what he was going to do. He got up on the stage. It was at the end of worship, and he kind of rallied the troops. We're so excited that you all are here. This is what he said. He said, you guys could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us tonight at college ministry. And we want you to know that we are just exasperated to have you here tonight. And I was like, oh, no. But then, guess what happened? all these college students from, I guess, all over the world in this room started cheering and celebrating the fact that Justice used this word exasperated. And it told me something. These college students don't know what that word means either. And so I just want to tell you that our education system is failing. Anyway, we had just a great time out there with him. We did an incredible wisdom table retreat in the spring. That was just a blast. Our team, guys, our leadership team is really, really strong, really, really unified, and really, really passionate about our church and what we're trying to do in the community. The thing that we walked away from that retreat with was that we want to make the Movement Church the worst kept secret in the Tri-Lakes. We don't want to just say God is for you and so are we. We want to do things that communicate to the community that we really mean that. And so we did that by starting in June with our Serve as Worship Sunday, which, by the way, was our highest attended Sunday in the summer. You guys loved a vacation, but more than you loved a vacation, you loved to serve. You love to bring the love of Christ into our community, and I just want to commend you for that. It was an awesome day. Another way that we kind of brought the Movement Church to the community instead of asking them just to come to us was we did a float in the 4th of July parade. That was epic. I almost fell off of the float a couple times. I don't want to talk about it, but that was an epic day. And then one of the highlights maybe of my ministry career was Father's Day this year, when Justice and I preached a sermon together, and he was outlawed from using the word exasperated. But no, it was amazing just to work with him on that sermon and to deliver it with him. It was unbelievable. I still don't have words for it. And then just a few weeks later, Justice preached his own sermon and talked trash about me in his sermon. Can you believe that? I mean, like, what do I got to do to get love around here, right? He talks some trash, and Justice, if you're watching, I want you to know that I've held on to the receipts, and retribution is coming. Okay. We went to Las Vegas this summer and experienced the NBA Summer League, which was a blast. That's why Justice and I were excited to go. Got to see the Nuggets in Summer League, and also we went to the Sphere, and that was like a change-making experience for me. I loved it. I loved the Sphere. But probably the highlight of that trip, just so you know, I got to tell you this story, is on the way to Las Vegas, 6 a.m. In Denver's airport, we ran into this guy. His name is Lil Boosie, and he is a rapper from Louisiana. He's a Louisiana legend. You guys know that's where I'm from. And as soon as I saw him, I went, that's Lil Boosie. Nobody else in my family knew who he was. In fact, I don't think anybody else in the whole airport knew who he was, but I knew that's Lil Boosie. And the reason I know that that's Lil Boosie is because my mom taught him in middle school. And so I went right up to him and I said, what's poppin', Boosie? And he said, you know who I am? And I said, yeah, man, because I'm from Louisiana. That's like his big song. And so anyway, we had a little moment, and then I said, Boosie, guess what? My mom taught you in middle school. And he said, who's your mama? And I said, Miss Fike. He said, Miss Fike? Curly hair, big lady, crazy eyebrows? I said, yeah, that's my mom. And he said, your mama is crazy. I said, say less. I know. I've lived with her. I understand. We took a picture and sent it to my mom, and she loved it. She showed everybody that she knows. That was a fun memory. Judah turned 9 this year and started 4th grade. That was cool. I love the young man that he's becoming, and I love his head of hair, especially in contrast to my other son, who, again, wrote a check with his mouth that his hairline couldn't cash. He made a bet, lost the bet, and they shaved his head in front of the whole student body, and he was none too pleased about it. But I got to tell you, the jokes between he and I have been incredible. I've sent him lots and lots of Lex Luthor memes and Breaking Bad memes. It's been a blast for me. Maybe the highlight of our year at the church was our chairs. Come on, somebody. I know even right there in your home where you're watching this, you appreciate the fact that we got chairs, right? Amen. Someone once said that the mind can only endure what the butt can handle. something like that. So anyway, we got some chairs, excited about that, and that happened because of our new wisdom table. We brought on new people onto our team. John Wilson became a new elder. Barb White, Jenica Tomdale, and Chico Lynch joined the SLT to make up our wisdom table, and I'm just grateful for them. They're a great team. Probably the biggest accomplishment of my year was finishing seminary. I am now a master of theology. You're quite welcome. Do you know what I've noticed about being a master of theology? No one has treated me any different. Not at all. It's just, hey, pick that up. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, I'm a master of theology. Come on, put some respect on my name. No, it doesn't happen. And then, of course, our last big jaunt into the community this year was that we had Mac and Cheese the Elf and Garrison the Elf go into the community and for the tree lighting experience and just serve and love people. And that was really, really cool. It's been an awesome year. So when I look back on that year and I think of all the things that have happened, and I think of how rapid they all happened, how quickly they all happened, and how fast it's over at the end of the year, it just makes me remember that it's important for us to slow down in our life and pay attention to the little things, to pay attention to the way that life is moving around us. You know, we're so good at paying intense attention to the out of ordinary things that happen in our life, some of which I just talked about in my life. Someone's coming to visit. We're having a party. Somebody's having their 25th anniversary. Somebody's turning 50. Whatever. We're really good at paying attention to those things. But we don't really do a good job of paying attention to the ordinary, everyday, regular life experiences. We just kind of yada yada our way through those things. And so I just want to ask you this question. What would it look like if you and I approached every day of our lives in this next year with the same sense of awareness that we have about those out of the ordinary big events? What if we treated the ordinary, everyday, normal, mundane things of life like they really, really mattered? Do you know why? Because they really, really do. There's a word I want to put before you today as we close our year together. And I want this word to be a word that launches us into 2026. It's a word that the early disciples were living by. They were breathing this word. It's a word that animated and motivated their rhetoric. It's also a word that I think, even though Jesus moved at a really intentional, kind of slow pace, I think there was a sense inside of him about this word. And that word is urgency. Urgency. Do you live life urgently? Do you have a life of urgency? If you've been paying attention this year, you know that we've brought this word up more than once in our sermon series, especially in that Is This the End series. And if you've been paying attention, you know that when I sit here and I deliver one of these online-only sermons, I like to make something that rhymes. Just part of my, Louisiana hip-hop, how I grew up. But so 2023, I sat right here and filmed a sermon. And it was called What's in Store for 24. Turned out we had no idea what was in store for 24. And then just 12 months later, I sat right here and preached a sermon to you called Desperate Lives in 25. Now that one I think has been prescient. That one I think has been relevant and real. The amount of stories I've heard this year from people that have experienced desperation in ways that they had to look up to God and say, I need you. I think that sermon was prescient. And so I'm hoping that what I'm going to share with you today is just as relevant, just as prescient, just as real to you. Today's sermon is called Urgentness in 26. Urgentness in 26. And yes, I looked it up. Urgentness is a word. And it's actually an interesting delineation between the word urgency and urgentness. Urgency is about quick stints of focused energy, passion. There's a sense of urgency right now, but it comes and it goes, it dissipates. Urgentness is an awareness or a sense that the ordinary things of life are meaningful and important and worthy of our attention and our passion. So urgency is like a stint, and urgency is a sense of what's going on around us. And so I just want to ask you, what if every day of your life this year got the same level of attention and energy as the big milestone moments that we face as we go through life? Moreover, what if your senses were turned into the urgentness of the Holy Spirit? What if you were aware of what the Holy Spirit considered to be urgent at all times? If there's anything that we learn, that we realize, that we recognize at the end of a year, it's that time is relentless. It never stops. It never pauses. You don't get to say, time out, time out, time out. I don't want time to move anymore. Judah and I have a little joke between the two of us. You might know that my sons, Justice and Judah, there's an 11-year time gap between those two guys. And what we noticed about ourselves in our parenting, as soon as we got Judah, because he was like our little miracle baby, what we noticed about Judah was how fast we had always been pushing Justice. We had an impatience. We had kind of I think, an unhealthy urgency about Justice. We were constantly wanting him to move on to the next step in life. When is he going to sleep through the night? When is he going to be done with these bottles? When is he going to start walking? When is he going to start talking? When is he going to stop talking? When will he be able to feed himself by himself? When will he stop needing our help with his homework because I don't know how to answer some of these questions? When will he get his driver's license so that I don't have to pick him up and drop him off? And when will he stop wrecking my vehicles, right? This has been the process with Justice. But with Judah, it just was different because he was such a little miracle child to us that we didn't want him to grow. I can remember thinking when he was 5 or 6 months old, like, I don't want him to get any bigger. I just want him to stay like this. I just want to be able to hold him in my arms and snuggle with him while we watch a Nuggets game. When he was crawling around and he would try to step up and stand up, I would say, no, you sit back down. It is not time for you to walk yet. We just didn't want the time to pass as fast as it did with Judah, with Justice. And so when he was 3 years old, I can remember this so clearly. I sat down with him and I said, Judah, you and I need to come to an agreement. From this moment on, you are not allowed to grow any bigger. This is it. This is as big as you can ever be. And he looked at me and he said, deal. And he has broken that deal every single year. In fact, every birthday we have this conversation where I say, you're breaking our deal, man. Like, look at how big you're getting. Look at your feet. Look at your hands. Look at how tall you are. This was not our deal. And he says to me, exasperated, he says, I can't help it, Dad. There's nothing I can do to stop it. And that's the truth. There's nothing he can do to stop the passage of time and his growth as a person. You know this. You feel this. And at the end of this life, you'll either have given yourself to things that matter or to things that don't. You'll either have invested your life into things that last or into things that fade away. I want to live my life and I want to leave a legacy behind, not just songs or sermons or butts and seats at a church. I want to do something that's significant. I want to make a difference, don't you? I want my life to be painted by the brush of urgentness, that I had a sense that every day mattered, and I poured my life into what mattered most. So, urgentness in 26. Here's what it looks like. Urgentness isn't panic. It's purpose under pressure. It's living today like eternity is real and tomorrow isn't guaranteed. That's what urgentness is. purpose under pressure. So when Paul says in Ephesians 5, pay careful attention, he's saying, wake up, be aware, be alert. Pay careful attention to how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time because the days of evil. Paul's saying, look, you have a choice. You can either make the least of the time that you have before you, or you can make the most of it. What are you going to do? I'm going to give you 3 points today. Here's the first one. Urgentness is forged by eternal perspective. See, Paul understands that life, this temporary vessel that we live in, this life that we're in right now, it's here today and it's gone tomorrow, but there's something coming. And if you decide today that you want to live for what's coming, then man, you can make a massive impact and your life can be painted by the brush of urgentness. Urgentness begins when you stop drifting, when you stop numbing, whatever that looks like for you, when you stop assuming that you'll get serious about it later. It's when you say, you know what? I want to be as present. I want to be as aware. I want to have my antenna up for the ordinary things of life, just like I do when something extraordinary happens. I want to make a typical Tuesday pickup an extraordinary experience. I want to be present. Here's what I want to challenge you to do. If you use Siri or you use Alexa, have them add this question as a reminder that you get asked maybe once a week or once a month. Here's the question. What is quietly consuming my time without producing fruit? What is quietly consuming my time without producing fruit? You're going to have to choose to stop drifting, to stop numbing, and to stop assuming or putting it off, believing that one day I'll get to that. No, make the most of your time. Urgentness is forged by eternal perspective. It isn't panic. It's purpose under pressure. The reason why so many of us don't often access a sense of urgentness is because we are facing a very real opposition. And that opposition is your priorities. You know, someone once said, if you want me to find out what matters to you, just show me your checkbook and your calendar. Your priorities. Where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? Colossians says this. It says, if you have been raised with Christ, if you have found the grace of Christ, if you have understood and accepted that you are saved by grace through faith in Jesus, if you have been raised with Christ, then here's what you're responsible for. Seek the things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Jesus said it like this. He said, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. Urgency isn't about doing more things. I'm not telling you, hey, go get busy this year. Go do more. That's not what it's about. It's about being faithful to prioritize the right things. You know this. You can be busy and not urgent. You can be productive and not purposeful. You can be successful and still wasting your life. You know this. A lot of it comes down to how much time we spent on these things in a given year. That thing where Apple tells us how much time you spent every week looking at your phone, obsessing over your phone, staring at your phone. Man, that's real. Pay attention to that, especially if you're spending time on social media. Because what social media does to us is it makes us compare our blooper reels to everybody else's highlight reels. And we tend to think, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing it right. I don't have what it takes. Social media is a trap. So stay away from it. Don't let anyone denigrate the mission that God has called you to live out. Don't let anyone convince you that what God has given you isn't enough. Just believe that when Jesus said, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. What he's saying is, the thing that matters most in this life is your relationship with him. And so he wants us, you and I, to treasure our relationship with him, because if we treasure that, that's where our heart is. That's where our attention is. That's where our priorities are. Urgentness is forged by eternal perspective, and it's fueled by eternal priority. I'm going to give you one more of these. And it's something that we learned from the early church, these guys that hung out with Jesus for 3 years and watched him do all that he did, listened to him say all that he said. After he had resurrected, given the Great Commission, and ascended into heaven, they had some choices to make. They had some priorities to set. They had some decisions about what their life was going to look like. I love what Acts 2:42 says about the early church. It says that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. These things that these disciples decided, these apostles, this young church decided to do. I love the word devoted. They devoted themselves to this. It wasn't just, when I get to it, I'll do this maybe once or twice a month. No, they devoted themselves to these things. Why? Because they were disciples of Jesus. They watched the way he lived, and they decided, if we're going to be serious about following him, then we want our lives to echo what we saw him doing. At Movement, we call that the distinctives of a disciple. What makes a disciple a disciple? What makes you stand out? What marks you as a disciple of Christ? It's these 5 things: that you would live on mission, that you wouldn't see this world as your battleground, but rather you'd see it as your mission field. People who serve in sincerity. They're not trying to be anybody other than who God made them to be. They're just living out their calling, living out their design, and trusting that God has a plan. People who give in generosity. They're not compelled by shame or guilt or even duty. They're compelled by their great love for what God has done for them. They give in generosity. People who grow in groups, who understand that Christianity is as a team sport. It's not a solo sport, that you can't be in on God and out on church. It doesn't work. The whole point of it is that we're interconnected, and that people who practice the Lord's presence, not just on Sundays, but that you're finding times Monday through Saturday to spend intentional time with the Lord, listening for his voice, sharing with him what's going on in your life, in your heart, practicing his presence. I just want to make a quick plug here, because we did something this year in our growth group, our Sunday night growth group, that I wasn't sure was going to work. We had been meeting on the first and third Sunday of every month for a couple of years, and it was really kind of, hit or miss. Some of us were really committed to it, but others were just kind of fly by night, come in, come out. And we decided to move our growth group to being a weekly experience every Sunday night from 5 to 7 p.m. And I really wasn't sure if it was going to work, but can I tell you, it totally worked. Our commitment level to the group has increased. And by the way, we've grown as a group. More and more people keep coming in. And as we meet, we're growing in our faith. It's incredible. It's really been extraordinary. The same is true with our move groups. I don't know who picked Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. Somebody did. It wasn't me. I went along with it. And I got to tell you, I would never have picked Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. as a time to meet every week. But can I tell you, it's like the highlight of my week to be around these men and to read the word together and to hear what the Lord speaks through them to the rest of us. It's remarkable. And so I just want to tell you, if you're not in a group, either a growth group or a move group, make that one of your resolutions in 2026, that you choose to lean in to that experience. And you might say, look, the groups that Movement Church has, those time slots don't work for me. Cool. Tell me about that. And then I'll help you start a new group. I'll help you find people that can fit into whatever time slot is going to work for you. We want to see you connect in a real way this year. Urgentness is formed by eternal practices. Listen, urgentness isn't panic. It's purpose under pressure. So can I ask you, do you anticipate there being any pressure this year in your life? We never really do. We never anticipate pressure, but I can tell you this, It's going to happen. You are going to experience hardships, challenges, storms, trials this year. How you behave, how you respond, how you are poised for that moment says everything about your sense of urgentness throughout your life. Do you hope to handle the pressure that you experienced this year better than you did last year? I know I do. And so the thing I want us to push for is urgentness. It's living today like eternity is real and tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And come on, we know that. We know that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Maybe you've lost someone in your life this year or recently, and you know that it can happen like that. I'm a big fan of the Oscars and the Emmys and the Grammys. Like, I watch those shows every year. You know what they all have in common? Every single one of those shows has a thing called In Memoriam, where they honor folks that we've lost this year. This year in particular, we've lost Robert Redford, Diane Keaton, Malcolm Jamal Warner, come on, Theo, and just recently, Rob Reiner. Listen, life is not guaranteed to us. It's not promised. What are you going to do with yours? James 4 says this: you do not know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. Tell me if you recognize this. For you are like a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Whew. A vapor. That's what our lives are. That's how quick it is. That's how brief it is. That's how short a time you have to live with urgentness. We say it every week. This life is a vapor. Each breath is a gift. You've chosen to call us on mission to live. Is that your story? Will that be your story in 2026? Urgentness is forged by eternal perspective. It's fueled by eternal priority. And it's formed by eternal practices. So my prayer for you, for us this year, is that we'll take ground for God's kingdom and the Tri-Lakes together. That we won't just say, God is for you and so are we, but that we will do things that make it clear that we really mean that together. My prayer is that we'll dig in deeper to meaningful relationships, that you will find relationships this year that you at this time next year you go, I can't believe I ever didn't have this deep of a relationship with this person. That you find deep and meaningful and real relationships this year. That we'll purpose time to pray together, corporately and individually. I want you to know, one of the things that we're going to lean into in 2026 together is we're going to spend more time in our services praying together, practicing His presence together, so that Monday through Saturday, you know how to do it. You know how to find that place. You know how to get to the Lord easily. And that we'll invest the ordinary days of our lives into what matters most. Urgency is just a stint. It's a brief jaunt. Urgentness is a sense of how meaningful every day is. So let's live, you and I, with urgentness in 26. I love you. I'm grateful for you. I'm so glad to be your pastor, your friend. I'm looking forward to growing deeper in relationship with you in this next year and to seeing how God's going to use you in powerful ways. This life is a vapor. Each breath is a gift. He's chosen to call us on mission to live. So God, move with us as each of us carries a cross. Each step of our faith, your faith, is a movement of God. Happy New Year. God bless you. We'll see you in 2026.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. We want to know, what is your next step? Would you email us at info@movementchurch.co so that we can join you in the next step? We'd love to help you move forward in your relationship with God. By the way, here at TMC, we have a little army of prayer warriors who absolutely love to pray with and for you. You can text a prayer request to this number, 719-800-7729, and our prayer team will pray with you until something changes. If you'd like to contribute financially to the Movement Church, and we'd be very grateful if you would, The easiest way to do it is to text the amount you'd like to give to this phone number, 833-725-0132. You can also find a link for giving on our website, www.movementchurch.co. If you live around the Tri-Lakes area, we would love it if you joined us live for a worship service. We meet at Bear Creek Elementary in Monument, Colorado at 10 a.m. We'll save a seat for you. If there's one thing we want you to know, it is that God is for you, and so are we.